Princess Lysera of Velara stood in the grand hall of the royal palace, her eyes fixed on the glowing city below. Velara was a world of strange beauty, with towers of crystal that shimmered under 3 suns, and rivers of liquid light flowing through lush forests. For centuries, the Velaran people had lived in harmony with their advanced technology, guided by wisdom and tradition. Lysera had grown up believing that her life would follow the path of duty and honor, as every royal heir was expected to do. But now, everything had changed. The Council of Elders had declared her infertile. Years of treatments, tests, and rituals had failed to produce the one thing a princess was expected to give her people: an heir. The verdict was clear, and Lysera felt a storm of disappointment and shame. She had always dreamed of becoming a mother, but the truth was that her body refused to cooperate. The council, however, saw a solution, a bold and unusual one. To preserve the royal line, they arranged a union with humans, a species from a distant planet called Earth. Humans were young, unpredictable, and primitive by Velaran standards, but they had shown remarkable adaptability and courage in past encounters. The council believed that pairing Lysera with a human might secure a future for the royal bloodline. Lysera could not hide her disbelief when the plan was presented. Why should I trust them? They are simple, untrained, and their ways are chaotic. The future of Velara depends on adaptability, the council head replied. Humans have qualities that we lack. They have courage, creativity, and resilience. You may learn from them as much as they will learn from you. Reluctantly, Lysera accepted. Soon, she was sent to Earth, accompanied by Captain Arik, a human diplomat chosen for his intelligence and composure. Arik was tall, with sharp eyes that seemed to understand more than they showed. He spoke in a calm voice, always respectful, yet confident in his own abilities. Lysera found his presence intriguing, though she would never admit it aloud. The first days on Earth were confusing. The sky was a softer blue than Velara's 3 suns could produce, and the cities were crowded and noisy. Vehicles moved without the elegance of levitation engines, and people walked without care for efficiency. Lysera often felt frustrated. Humans were messy and impulsive. But she also noticed something strange despite their chaos. Humans had an energy, a spark that she had never seen in her own people. Arik guided her carefully through every new experience, explaining customs, technology, and social norms. Lysera remained cautious, watching humans closely. She had been trained to observe, to judge, and to remain composed. But she could not deny that Arik was different from what she expected. He seemed to understand her hesitation, treating her not as an alien, not as a princess, but as a person. One evening, Lysera walked alone through a human garden. The air smelled of flowers and fresh earth, a scent unfamiliar but comforting. She thought about her life on Velara, the expectations, the endless rituals, the weight of a destiny she had never chosen. Here, on Earth, she felt both lost and free. She wondered if humans might offer more than she had ever imagined. The turning point came when Lysera attended a ceremony honoring the alliance between humans and Velarans. It was a grand event, held in a large hall filled with humans and alien observers. Humans marveled at her beauty, her attire, and her strange, glowing eyes. Some whispered, some stared openly, but none dared approach without respect. Lysera felt uncomfortable under the attention. On Velara, she was used to admiration. But here, it felt different, curious, almost innocent. She realized that humans did not hold the same rigid hierarchy she had known. They judged less by rank and more by action, by character. She found herself listening to their stories, amazed at their courage and determination. Arik stood beside her, quietly observing. "Do you understand them?" she asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "They are different," he replied, "but I think you will see they are capable of remarkable things, not in the way your people are, but in their own way." They are humans. Lysera frowned. I am not sure I can trust them completely. They are unpredictable. How can we build the future with such uncertainty? Eric smiled gently. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in what we cannot predict. Humans survive because they adapt, because they care, and because they never give up. You may find, Princess, that their unpredictability is exactly what we need. For the first time, Lysera felt a small flicker of hope. Perhaps humans were not as weak as she had assumed. Perhaps they could teach her something she had never learned on Velara. The power of resilience, courage, and the human spirit. That night, as she gazed at the earthly stars from the palace balcony, Lysera felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. She had left the world she knew, the world of certainty, for a new path that was unknown. She wondered what would come of this union between two species, and what role she would play. Most of all, she wondered if she could find her own place in this strange, chaotic, and vibrant human world. Lysera did not yet know that her journey would not only change her life, but also the lives of countless others, both humans and Valerans. In her heart, a seed of curiosity and determination was planted. She was a princess, yes, but she was also a traveler, a learner, and perhaps, in time, a bridge between two worlds. And so, the Princess of Velara began her story on Earth, a story that would challenge everything she had known, force her to rethink what it meant to lead, and ultimately reveal that the future might hold miracles beyond any expectation, even the miracle of life itself. Life on Earth proved to be more complicated than Princess Lysera had imagined. The humans, with their chaotic ways and endless questions, fascinated her and frustrated her in equal measure. Every day brought new experiences, challenges, and small victories that forced her to rethink what she thought she knew about strength and courage. Lysera lived in a specially constructed residence, a blend of human architecture and Valeran technology. Its walls glowed softly, a comforting reminder of her home planet, and advanced systems anticipated her every need. Yet, no technology could smooth the awkward social interactions she encountered daily. Humans often laughed loudly, argued over trivial matters, and made decisions impulsively. At first, Lysera could not understand their ways. To her, their behavior seemed inefficient, even reckless. Captain Arik remained her constant guide and companion. Every morning, he would brief her on the day's events, introduce her to human leaders, and explain cultural nuances. Though Lysera initially found him overly patient, she began to appreciate his steadiness. Unlike the rigid Valeran courtiers, Arik treated her as a person rather than a symbol. He listened to her fears, offered advice without judgment, and challenged her assumptions in ways that slowly earned her respect. One morning, the two of them traveled to a human settlement near the edge of Earth's desert plains. The settlement was small, built from simple materials, yet it thrived through cooperation and ingenuity. Humans had adapted to harsh conditions, creating systems of water recycling, energy harvesting, and food production that were both creative and practical. Lysera could not help but admire their resourcefulness. These people survive because they think differently, Arik said, as they walked through the settlement. They make mistakes, yes, but they learn from them. That's how they grow stronger. Lysera nodded, her eyes scanning the community. On Velara, failure is avoided at all costs. Mistakes are dangerous. Yet, here, mistakes are tolerated. They become lessons. Exactly, Arik replied. It's not about perfection. It's about resilience. As they explored, a sudden alert came through Arik's communicator. A rival faction from Velara, opposed to the Human Alliance, had launched a sabotage mission. They had sent drones to disrupt Earth's settlement, aiming to create fear and distrust between humans and Valerans. Lysera's heart raced. She had never faced such a direct threat, especially on a planet so unfamiliar. But Arik remained calm, coordinating humans to defend the settlement. Lysera watched as ordinary people, farmers, engineers, and guards used clever strategies to neutralize the drones. They improvised, worked together, and never lost courage, even when machines were dangerously close. Lysera felt a strange mix of fear and admiration. Humans were vulnerable, yes, but they were also brave, clever, and unyielding. Their courage did not come from superior technology or long tradition, it came from determination and creativity. For the first time, she realized that humans might truly deserve a place in the galaxy. After the threat was neutralized, Lysera and Arik stood on a small hill overlooking the settlement. Smoke had cleared, and the humans were beginning to rebuild. They did well, Lysera said quietly. I underestimated them. They are remarkable. Arik smiled. You see what I meant. Strength isn't only about power or perfection. It's about heart, persistence, and the will to keep going, no matter what. For several weeks, Lysera continued to immerse herself in human life. She attended community meetings, observed technology experiments, and even participated in training exercises. She began to enjoy the simplicity of human emotions: laughter, frustration, hope, and determination. Humans expressed themselves openly, celebrating small victories and supporting each other in defeat. Lysera, who had always been taught to hide her emotions, found this honesty refreshing. One evening, during a quiet dinner, Arik spoke of his own experiences. Humans are young, but that is our strength. We have no set path, no unchanging rules. That allows us to adapt, to learn, and to face the unexpected. Lysera listened, considering his words. Adaptability. Yes. On Velara, we rely on order and certainty, but perhaps we have underestimated the value of flexibility. Arik nodded. Flexibility is survival. And survival is more than existing, it is growing, improving, and protecting those we care for. Humans may be unpredictable, but they are also capable of greatness. As days passed, Lysera began forming friendships with humans beyond Arik. She learned from engineers, debated strategies with scientists, and even laughed with children who were curious about her alien appearance. Each interaction chipped away at her skepticism. Humans were not perfect, but they were resilient, compassionate, and willing to risk themselves for the greater good. Yet political tensions loomed. Messages from Velara arrived daily, some supportive, some critical. Certain council members still doubted the alliance, calling humans weak and unpredictable. Lysera knew that to secure peace and cooperation, she would need to act as a bridge between two worlds. An impossible task, perhaps, but one she was beginning to embrace. The climax of this part came when a larger threat emerged. A fleet of Valeran warships, loyal to the anti-human faction, approached Earth. Their goal was to intimidate and force Lysera to abandon the alliance. Lysera faced a choice: remain safe under human protection, or confront the fleet with courage. She turned to Arik. We cannot run. Humans have shown their strength. I must face this challenge, not just as a princess, but as a leader. Arik's eyes reflected pride and respect. Then, we face it together. Humans and Valerans, side by side. The settlement mobilized. Humans and Lysera's trusted aides coordinated defenses, using both human ingenuity and Valeran technology. Drones were repurposed, energy shields deployed, and communication networks synchronized. Lysera observed the teamwork, her admiration for humans growing with every passing moment. When the enemy fleet arrived, the combined forces stood ready. Humans acted fearlessly, their actions unpredictable yet brilliant. Lysera felt a surge of pride. She realized that humans, though young in experience, possessed a courage that rivaled even the most seasoned Valerans. By the end of the encounter, the rival fleet retreated. Lysera's faith in humans was no longer tentative, it was earned. Their adaptability, intelligence, and determination had not only saved the settlement, but also strengthened the bond between Earth and Valara. That night, Lysera stood with Eric, looking at the stars above Earth. "I see them now," she said softly. "Humans are more than I imagined. They are extraordinary." Eric smiled. "You have seen the first proof, Princess. There is much more to learn, much more to experience. And this is only the beginning." Lysera nodded. For the first time, she felt hope. A hope that her journey on Earth would not only secure her people's future, but also teach her the true meaning of courage, resilience, and trust. The trials of trust had begun, and with them, a new understanding of the human spirit. Weeks passed since the fleet's retreat, and Earth began to feel more like a home than a temporary refuge. Princess Lysera had learned to navigate human society with greater confidence. And the humans, in turn, had grown comfortable with her presence. Yet, beneath the surface of this new peace, tensions simmered, both within Valara's political sphere and in Lysera's own heart. Captain Eric remained by her side at every turn. Their partnership had grown deeper than simple diplomacy. They shared long discussions about leadership, morality, and strategy. They trained together in the defensive simulations, often staying late into the night to analyze tactics. With every challenge, Lysera felt an unexpected connection to the human diplomat, an understanding and respect that went beyond duty or protocol. Lysera's feelings both puzzled and scared her. She had been raised to lead with logic, to act as a symbol of her people rather than a person with desires. Yet, she could not deny the warmth that spread through her chest whenever Eric was near. The way his calm presence seemed to ease the anxieties she had carried for years. She had begun to wonder if this connection was something she had never allowed herself to feel, something uniquely human. One afternoon, a crisis arrived from Valara. The anti-human faction had intensified their propaganda, warning that the princess's association with humans threatened the purity and strength of the royal line. Rumors spread that she was compromising her duties, causing unrest among Valara's citizens and council members. Lysera felt the weight of responsibility pressing down harder than ever. Her personal feelings for Eric and her professional duty as a princess now seemed intertwined in a complicated web. She wondered how she could lead her people, defend humans, and stay true to herself at the same time. "Princess," Eric said softly during a late-night walk in the residence gardens, "you carry a heavy burden. But you are not alone. Humans may be young and inexperienced, but they are loyal and brave. They will stand with you, just as I do." Lysera looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of gratitude and confusion. "It is not easy," she admitted. "To trust humans, to trust you. I feel emotions I have been taught to control, and yet I cannot deny them." Eric's expression was steady, his voice calm. "Emotions are not weakness, Lysera. They are strength. They inspire courage, build connections, and guide decisions that logic alone cannot reach. You are learning to see the human way, and perhaps, in doing so, you are discovering your own strength as well." Despite the tension and uncertainty, Lysera began to embrace the emotional lessons humans offered. She laughed more freely, spoke more openly, and even allowed herself moments of vulnerability around Eric. These moments, small as they were, began to form a bond that neither politics nor distance could break. But the political challenges grew. A delegation from Valara arrived on Earth to evaluate the alliance. Some were supportive, while others openly questioned the wisdom of pairing a princess with humans. Lysera faced their scrutiny with composure, explaining the humans' resilience, creativity, and loyalty. She shared the story of the settlement's defense against the sabotage fleet, highlighting how humans had adapted, improvised, and protected one another. The delegates were divided. Some recognized the value of the human partnership, while others muttered about the dangers of unpredictability and emotional entanglements. Lysera realized that she needed to act decisively not only to protect humans but to assert her own leadership. During the debates, Arik stood beside her, offering support and quiet counsel. He did not speak over her or take the spotlight. Instead, he allowed her voice, her reasoning, and her authority to shine. Lysera found that his presence was both calming and empowering. It gave her the courage to argue for the alliance, to demonstrate that humans were capable partners, and to show that trust and cooperation could bridge the gap between worlds. One evening, after a long day of negotiations, Lysera and Arik walked along the edge of the city, where Earth met the vast sky. The wind carried scents, unfamiliar to Velara, yet comforting in their simplicity. Lysera turned to Arik, her voice barely above a whisper. "I never imagined I could feel this way," she confessed. "Humans, they are unlike anything I have known. And yet, I find myself wanting to protect them, to be close to them, to be close to you." Arik's hand brushed hers lightly, not out of ceremony, but as a gesture of understanding and solidarity. "And you," he said simply. "It is not weakness to feel, princess. It is strength. You have learned to see beyond the surface, to understand courage in ways your people never could. That is why humans can stand beside you, and why you can trust them." Lysera's heart swelled with a mixture of fear and hope. She knew the political implications of this bond. Any personal connection could be seen as scandalous, a betrayal of Valeran protocol. Yet, for the first time in her life, she understood that true leadership required both wisdom and compassion. To deny her feelings would be to deny a part of herself, and perhaps the future she sought for both humans and Valerans. Days later, an emergency message arrived. A rogue faction of Valerans attempted to infiltrate the settlement again, this time using stealth technology to bypass defenses. Lysera and Arik coordinated the response. Humans acted swiftly, employing clever tactics and daring maneuvers that forced the infiltrators to retreat. Once again, Lysera witnessed their bravery, ingenuity, and ability to adapt under pressure. After the threat had been neutralized, Lysera stood with Arik in the settlement's central square. She looked at the humans surrounding her, ordinary people who had risen to extraordinary challenges. Their courage inspired something deep within her, a recognition that humans were not only capable but essential allies in the galaxy's uncertain future. She turned to Arik, her voice steady. "I see now that humans are more than I imagined. They are resilient, resourceful, and brave. And I trust them. I trust you." Arik smiled, not with arrogance, but with quiet pride. "Then we are ready for the next step, princess. Together, humans and Valerans can face any challenge. Together, we can build a future neither species could achieve alone." Lysera nodded. For the first time, she felt a sense of clarity and purpose. She was no longer just a princess defined by tradition or expectations. She was a leader, a bridge between worlds, and someone who could embrace the unpredictability of humans without fear. As the sun set over the settlement, casting long shadows across the land, Lysera allowed herself a rare moment of peace. She had discovered that trust could be earned, that courage could come in many forms, and that bonds, even those deemed forbidden, could shape the future in ways no one could foresee. Her journey with humans had only begun. And already, it was teaching her lessons she had never learned on Velara. Lessons of trust, resilience, and the quiet power of connection. And in her heart, a seed of hope took root, a hope that would one day grow into something far greater than she had ever imagined. The following months passed with a strange blend of routine and tension. Earth had become a second home for Princess Lysera, yet the shadow of political uncertainty from Velara always lingered. Lysera had grown confident in her leadership and increasingly respected the humans she once doubted. She and Eric had formed a strong partnership, built on trust, courage, and mutual respect. One morning, Lysera felt something unusual, a warmth in her chest, a new sensation she had never experienced before. Concerned, she summoned the human and Valeran doctors who accompanied her. After careful tests, the results were revealed. She was pregnant. The news shocked everyone present, both humans and Valarans. It had been assumed impossible. Lysera had been declared infertile. Gasps filled the room. Eric's eyes widened, a mix of awe and joy. Lysera herself was stunned, struggling to process the reality. I cannot believe this," she whispered. How is this possible?" The lead Valeran physician stepped forward, explaining the unprecedented nature of the pregnancy. The combination of human and Valeran genetics had somehow overcome the fertility issue. "This child," the doctor said carefully, "represents a new possibility, a blending of traits from both species, with remarkable potential. We have never observed anything like it." Humans and Valerans alike began to realize the significance. This was not just a personal miracle. It was a symbol of unity, a bridge between two worlds. It was proof that humans could be trusted, that they were more capable than some Valerans had ever believed. Lysera, though overwhelmed, felt a surge of hope. She knew that the pregnancy would bring challenges. Rival factions might seek to exploit it, misunderstandings could grow, and the responsibility of nurturing the first human Valeran child weighed heavily on her. Yet, alongside these fears, there was a profound sense of purpose. She would protect this life, and in doing so, strengthen the bond between humans and her people. Eric remained at her side, his calm presence a constant reassurance. "This child is more than a miracle," he said softly one evening, as they watched the sunset from the palace balcony. "It is hope, a sign that humans and Valerans can work together, learn from each other, and create something greater than either could alone." Lysera smiled faintly, placing a hand over her stomach. "It is strange," she admitted. "I had believed I was incapable of giving life. And yet, this child exists. Perhaps the future is not determined by rules alone, but by courage, trust, and cooperation." Weeks turned into months, and Lysera's pregnancy progressed. Scientists from both worlds closely monitored her health and the child's development. They marveled at the hybrid traits emerging. Intelligence that seemed sharper than average, reflexes that combined human adaptability with Valeran precision, and a resilience that suggested a bright future. Lysera also discovered new challenges. She had to navigate not only the physical demands of pregnancy, but also the political pressures mounting on every side. The anti-human faction from Valara intensified their opposition, claiming the child was unnatural or dangerous. Some humans feared the unknown consequences of hybrid genetics. Lysera had to reassure both sides while remaining calm, determined, and focused. During this time, Eric became more than a companion. He became a partner in every sense. He advocated for humans and Valerans alike, ensuring that the child would be protected and that Lysera could focus on her health and the child's well-being. Together, they planned for contingencies, trained security personnel, and developed strategies to maintain peace between both worlds. Despite the pressure, Lysera found moments of joy. She walked among human children in the settlement, sharing stories and observing their curiosity and energy. She felt a deep connection to life itself, inspired by the resilience and hope she saw everywhere. It reminded her that strength was not measured by technology or tradition alone, but by courage, care, and the willingness to face challenges together. One day, a group of young Valeran diplomats visited Earth to learn about human society firsthand. Lysera guided them through the settlement, showing them the children, the engineers, and the leaders who had defended the community during previous threats. She explained how humans adapted, improvised, and demonstrated courage in ways that Valerans had not expected. The diplomats were skeptical at first, but by the end of the visit, they expressed admiration. "Humans are not as weak as we assumed," one diplomat admitted. "Their bravery and ingenuity, it is remarkable." Lysera smiled quietly, pleased that her people were beginning to see humans in a new light. But peace remained fragile. Intelligence reports indicated that rival factions from Valara were planning further actions to challenge the alliance. Lysera and Arik prepared, knowing that the safety of the child and the bond between worlds depended on their vigilance. They trained, strategized, and strengthened alliances with both humans and supportive Valerans. As the pregnancy progressed, Lysera felt the child moving within her. Each movement reminded her of the miracle growing inside a living symbol of unity, hope, and the potential of cooperation. She realized that her own journey had changed her deeply. She had begun as a princess who doubted humans, and now she was a mother-to-be who believed in their courage, resilience, and strength. One quiet evening, Lysera and Arik sat in the garden under the starlit sky. The gentle glow of Earth's moon reflected in Lysera's eyes. She placed her hand over her stomach and spoke softly. "This child will see two worlds, two cultures, and the potential of both. Perhaps this is why I was given a chance, even when I thought I was infertile. Perhaps this child is meant to show us the future." Arik took her hand gently. "And we will guide that future together, Lysera. Humans and Valerans, side by side. This child will not only survive, but thrive, because of the courage and care of both species." Lysera felt a warmth she had never experienced before, a mixture of hope, love, and determination. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy. Challenges would come from both worlds, from politics, from fear, and from those who doubted the alliance. Yet, for the first time, she felt a deep confidence. Humans had proven their courage, their creativity, and their loyalty. She trusted them, and she trusted herself. As the stars shone above, Lysera allowed herself to dream. She imagined a world where humans and Valerans worked together, learning from each other, growing stronger together, and creating a future filled with possibility. The miracle of the child was not just a personal blessing, it was a symbol, a promise, and a beginning. And so, as Earth's night sky stretched over the palace gardens, Princess Lysera embraced the miracle growing inside her. She knew that the next challenges would be greater, that dangers still lurked. But she also knew that the child represented hope. A hope that would carry both humans and Valerans into a new era, an era of courage, cooperation, and the extraordinary potential of unity. The day had arrived. Princess Lysera stood in the private chamber of the palace on Earth, the soft glow of human and Valeran technology illuminating the room. The air was filled with anticipation, not just among the humans and Valarans who had gathered nearby, but in Lysera's own heart. She was about to give birth to the first hybrid child, a symbol of hope, unity, and the extraordinary potential of cooperation between two worlds. Arik stood close, his hand gently resting on hers. He had been her guide, protector, and confidant for many months. And now, as the final moments approached, he was her unwavering support. Neither spoke much, for words were unnecessary. The bond they had formed carried more meaning than any phrase could express. Medical teams from both Earth and Valara worked calmly and efficiently, their combined knowledge and technology ensuring that the birth would proceed safely. Lysera focused on her breathing, grounding herself amidst the excitement and nervous energy in the room. She felt the child moving, responding to her presence and her determination. "This child," Arik said softly, "will change everything, not just for us, but for both our peoples. They will see what courage, trust, and unity can achieve. Lysera nodded, her heart swelling with hope. Yes, this child is a promise. A promise that the future can be better, stronger, and brighter. I must protect it and everything it represents. Hours passed, filled with careful coordination and focused effort. Lysera drew strength from her determination and from the knowledge that humans and Valerans were united in purpose. She recalled all the lessons of the past months, the courage of humans in the settlement, their ingenuity in defending against threats, and their willingness to work together even under pressure. She realized that the child growing inside her was a living embodiment of those very qualities. Finally, with a final push of determination and effort, the first cries of the hybrid child filled the room. Everyone present paused, listening in awe. The sound was not just a birth, it was the birth of a new possibility. A tangible symbol of cooperation and hope. Lysera's eyes filled with tears of relief, joy, and wonder. The child was perfect. A delicate blend of human and Valeran traits. Its eyes shone with a soft, unusual glow, reflecting intelligence and vitality. The medical teams examined the child thoroughly, confirming its health and strength. They marveled at the combination of genetics, the resilience, and the potential evident even in these first moments of life. Eric leaned close to Lysera, his voice filled with quiet pride. "It is perfect," he said. "A true symbol of the union between our worlds." Lysera smiled, holding the child close. "More than perfect," she whispered. "It is hope. It is proof that humans and Valarans can create something extraordinary together." News of the birth spread quickly. Humans on Earth celebrated, sharing the story of courage, unity, and resilience. Across Valara, reactions were mixed. Some were still skeptical, but many were inspired. The hybrid child represented a bridge between worlds, a reason to believe in cooperation and trust. The political climate began to shift. The anti-human faction, once vocal and threatening, found themselves facing undeniable evidence that humans could contribute to the future in meaningful ways. Their influence waned as more Valarans witnessed the courage, intelligence, and dedication of humans in collaboration with their own kind. Lysera's leadership, combined with Eric's unwavering support, had reshaped perceptions on both worlds. Lysera spent her first days as a mother reflecting on her journey. She thought of the uncertainty and fear she had faced, the doubts she had held about humans, and the lessons she had learned. She had grown stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. She realized that leadership required more than knowledge and authority. It required understanding, empathy, and courage. Eric remained her partner in every way. He helped care for the child, coordinated with scientists and leaders, and supported Lysera emotionally and practically. Together, they created an environment where the child could thrive, blending the best of human curiosity and Valeran wisdom. The settlement on Earth became a model of cooperation. Humans and Valerans worked side by side, sharing knowledge, technology, and culture. Children learned from both worlds, growing up with a sense of possibility and unity. Lysera and Eric watched with pride as their efforts bore fruit, realizing that the hybrid child's future was intertwined with the growth of understanding between two species. As the days turned into weeks, Lysera spoke publicly about the meaning of the child's birth. She emphasized courage, adaptability, and cooperation. She highlighted the bravery of humans, the wisdom of Valerans, and the importance of unity in the face of challenges. Her words inspired people from both worlds, fostering respect, hope, and a renewed commitment to collaboration. One evening, Lysera and Eric stood on a balcony overlooking the Earth settlement. The stars stretched above them, familiar yet awe-inspiring. Lysera held the child close, marveling at the small life that represented so much more than herself. This child," she said softly, "is the beginning of a new era. An era where humans and Velarans can learn from each other, grow together, and face the galaxy as partners, not rivals." Eric placed his hand over hers, over the child. "And we will guide that era together. Lysera. This child will carry the lessons of courage, resilience, and hope. They will see both worlds, both cultures, and understand the power of unity." Lysera smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but through trust, cooperation, and courage, she had not only given life to a child, but also to the future of two worlds. Humans were no longer distant or primitive in her eyes. They were strong, resourceful, and capable of extraordinary achievements. And the child in her arms was proof of what could be accomplished when differences were embraced rather than feared. The hybrid child's presence brought families, scientists, and leaders together, creating bonds that had once seemed impossible. Children of both species played together, learning from each other. Humans and Velarans shared knowledge, technology, and culture. Discovering that cooperation allowed for innovations and growth that neither species could achieve alone. Lysera realized that this was only the beginning. The child's life, their actions, and their very existence would continue to inspire generations. They would be a living symbol of courage, unity, and the limitless potential of collaboration. As Lysera looked at Eric and the child, she knew that the journey they had started from distrust and uncertainty to trust and hope was a testament to the human spirit and the potential for greatness within both worlds. She allowed herself to imagine the future, a galaxy where differences were celebrated, where courage and intelligence were valued, and where humans and Velarans stood together, stronger than ever before. The story of Princess Lysera, the human Captain Eric, and their hybrid child became legend, a tale of resilience, trust, and the extraordinary power of unity. It was proof that no obstacle was too great when courage, compassion, and cooperation guided the way. And so, a new era began. A future where humans were recognized not as weak or primitive, but as capable, brave, and essential partners. A future where differences created strength and where the spark of hope could grow into something far greater than anyone had imagined. Lysera, Eric, and their child stood as the living proof that the galaxy could embrace a brighter, united tomorrow.